eyes wide open. In the heart of Appalachia, legends whisper of unseen spirits and shadowy figures. Don't forget to subscribe as we step deep into the misty woods to uncover what many refuse to talk about. Let's take a look.
Between Christmas and New Year's, Appalachians called it the dead time. Not dead, like gone, dead like holding its breath. The old folks said the year wasn't finished yet, and the new one hadn't arrived, so the world sat open. That's why you didn't rush, didn't scrub, didn't make big plans. Because whatever you stirred up in the dead time had nowhere to settle. This was when spirits wandered closer to home, when grief lingered longer, when the mountains listened more than they spoke. If something broke during these days, you didn't replace it yet. If someone left, you waited before chasing them. And if the woods went quiet, you stopped moving. They believed time itself was thin, and stepping wrong could echo into the whole year ahead. That's why elders watched the fire, watched the sky, watched their dreams. Because what happened in the dead time wasn't just a moment. It was a warning about the year waiting on the other side.
Spirits don't always introduce themselves with noise. Sometimes they arrive through scent. One quiet evening, in a mountain cabin, a strange, almost disgusting smell filled the room. No source, no explanation. As I searched for where it came from, my husband gently said, "Maybe you have a visitor." So I tuned in, and he introduced himself. Behind the smell was a sad story, a spirit seeking to be understood, accepted, and forgiven. He carried a message for the family, waiting to be heard. Next time a mysterious smell appears, pause before dismissing it.
If you live alone, or if you even just sleep alone at night, you should probably just scroll on past this video. If you choose to stay, don't say I didn't warn ya. This is a story from eastern Kentucky in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Bailey used to live in rural eastern Kentucky in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in a holler. Think of it like a cul-de-sac in between a set of foothills. They lived in the middle of the neighborhood with nothing but family on both sides. No one lived across from or behind them because of the foothills. When she first moved in, her grandma told her she had a set of rules for her to follow. Bailey just chalked these rules up to hillbilly stranger danger. There was things like don't mess with the wild animals, don't go out in the woods alone. And that's where things got a little weird. They started being like, don't whistle. If you hear something weird, no you didn't. If you hear someone call your name, don't answer it and do not go towards the voice. If you see someone in the woods that you think you know, but you know they're nowhere around, no you didn't, and come on home. Dad had mowed a path through the tall grass and berry bushes that was on the left side of their double-wide trailer. They used to camp out there a lot because it was right there, like, you know, in the woods, and it was beautiful, but they could still be close enough to go check on their grandma. Now, when you're out in the woods here, things are a lot louder than you think. Got animal life, bug noises, the wind, the creek. And that night, they added a campfire to the mix because, you know, campfire has its own sounds too. Her dad decided to go back up the path about a quarter of a mile to get more adult beverages and to check on her grandma. Before her dad left, he had specifically told her not to mess with the fire. While he was gone, things started to get quiet, like real quiet. And that's never a good sign when you're in the woods, especially alone. The wind went still, the animal and the bugs fell completely silent, and the creek sounded like it was miles away. She started getting really uncomfortable even though her dad had left her alone at the camp before like this, and that's when she started to smell and taste it. The taste was in the back of her throat from out of nowhere. It was like this awful metal tang. After a few more moments of dread, her dad finally came back. He was mad because he said that he could smell burning metal while he was coming up the trail, and he accused her of throwing his adult beverage cans into the fire. He told him that she hadn't done that and even pointed to the fire to prove it to him. He just immediately changed the subject and said that there was a storm coming in and they had to get back to the house. So they just left the tent there and they started their way back. Now, the very weird but very cool thing about lightning in woods this dense, like in the middle of the night, is when the lightning hits, it lights up everything like it was the middle of the day, up until like the front of the trees. You know, the next set of trees back, it's still pitch black. There's no street lights, so unless you have lights on your own personal property, it's just pitch black. It's pitch black, lightly raining, and other than the dim lights from the house windows, there is no light. He's eating watermelon as one does in August in the mountains when the first clap of lightning hits. Everything's bright as can be, and then after a second passes, it's pitch black again. Next clap of lightning comes, and that's when she kind of sees it. On the porch, past the yard, over the stream, past the road, just past the first line of trees, she could see the silhouette of it. Then it goes dark again, and this is also when she starts tasting that awful burning metal taste again in the back of her throat. At this moment, she's not really sure what she just saw, so she kind of just stays still. It's a few moments before the lightning hits again, but when it does, the figure is now closer. It's standing side by side to the trees now, and then it goes pitch black dark again. She said it's been 20 years since this day, and she still has trouble fully describing what she actually saw. The thing's head wasn't proportioned right to its body. Its arms were too long and the torso didn't fit right. Once the lightning hits again and everything's lit up, she can see it standing in the middle of the road. Not wanting to wait around and see this thing get any closer, she goes inside. Her grandma's doing the dishes and she asks her why she's inside. She tells her she thinks she just saw something outside. Grandma almost immediately gets her dad on his feet, telling him to shut and lock all the windows and doors. That night, Bailey slept with her grandma. Next day, they discovered the tent's doors had been torn off. Didn't look like an animal had done it because things weren't cut or shredded, but it looked like someone took and pulled it apart. Also, about a mile or so up the road, her uncle had found about 8 chickens out in his yard that had lost their lives. None of them had heads. All of their heads were gone. For the next few weeks, all the kids had to wait for the bus with an adult. Remembers her dad had to be late to work for about 3 weeks. Any time that she tried to talk about it, he'd just change the subject. She just figured it was because she was a kid and it wasn't important or it wasn't real. It wasn't until years later that she finally understood. When she was in her early 20s, some of her cousins came to town for Halloween. As she was telling her cousin the story, her aunt got irate with her. She said, "Don't be telling them that. Do not put that evil on them." After this, she couldn't help but think back on all the times that she had tried to bring it up and she was shunned. So friends, if you ever find yourself in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in eastern Kentucky, don't forget to follow the rules.
Myself and my husband had a very creepy experience in the Appalachian Mountains the other day, and I want to talk to you guys about it. Because the fact that my husband experienced something is like wild, because he rarely experiences anything, and he experienced this first. So it is nighttime. We are driving back home. We're pretty like in the middle of nowhere. I think we had just come from my parents' house and they live like pretty far out. You have to drive through woods to get there. Like we were pretty far away, out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm driving. Obviously, I am looking straight ahead. I am watching for deer. I am alert. I am paying attention, as I always do at night driving around here. My husband does a little gasp and I'm like, "What? What happened?" And he said, "Huh?" Like it's just being boozled. So I'm like, what happened? And he goes on to tell me that he saw something. He said, "I thought it was a deer," which is never a good way to start a conversation when you live in Appalachia. But nevertheless, he says, "I thought it was a deer, but it looked kind of weird, and then it turned into a mist and just kind of like floated away." He saw this on the side of the road. I would have seen that. It's weird that I didn't, because like I said, I'm paying attention, right? So we drive a little bit further. We're not talking about it anymore. We're just vibing, whatever. I drive very strange at night. Like, I drive very close to the steering wheel. I hold the steering wheel like this. Like, I am back off of the seat. Like, I am at the steering wheel, right? Something grabs my hair and just, boom, like my head, like that. Just, like, it was hard. No one else is in the car. Obviously, my husband didn't do it. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And so I tell him, I'm like, "Something just pulled my hair. What is going on right now?" So at that point, I'm like, okay, we shouldn't be talking about this at all. So we both just go silent. I'm 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, just driving. And then the smell hits the car. Just straight up rotten egg, sulfur. It's awful. And the smell does not go away until we're out of the woods. Living in this area is not for the faint of heart. It's just not.
I've got a true Appalachian horror story for you. This happened to a friend of mine when she was a little girl back in the 60s or 70s. Back in those days, when you wanted to walk to a cousin's house or a friend's house or revival, you were on foot. The only thing you had to be on alert for was the wildlife. We didn't have to so much worry about people back then, especially in a small, good little town. So her and her cousin decide they're leaving their friend's house that night, and they live a couple miles apart on a 7-mile road. The cousin walks into her door, so she's alone. She's got 2 more miles to go. She notices she hears a bunch of rustling in the bushes behind her. Every time she stops walking, the sounds stop. She starts to walk again, the rustling in the bushes gets louder, and she notices that the sound's actually coming from beside her, behind a barbed wire fence, in the weeds where you can't see it's really overgrown there. And she caught a glimpse of what she said looked like white, long fur. She panicked. Her first instinct is, oh my gosh, it's probably a mountain lion. And instead of doing the thing you don't do, she ran. So she's running. She said she had about a half a mile left to go to get home. And something told her to jump through that barbed wire fence and run straight up through the woods to make it quicker home. And that maybe whatever this was trailing her would not be able to get her through the barbed wire, even though she thought she heard it coming from within the barbed wire fence. She glances over her shoulder one time, and what she described to me was something that was the stature of a 6-foot-tall man with white, long, straight hair that mimicked horsehair. She gets inside. She tells her parents exactly what she saw. Her mom is acting like she's just crazy, but her daddy is taking in everything she says. He goes and grabs a shotgun, and it scares her a little bit because he's heading to the door. She said she knew in that moment her daddy knew what she was talking about, and she had heard rumors of the old men sitting around talking about some kind of creature. Her daddy goes and gets his cousin next door. They go through the woods with shotguns. Didn't find it, but they did find something. They came back in the house that night, 2 hours later, with a handful of strands of white hair that mimicked what looks like horse mane hair. They took this hair and they put it in a sandwich bag. They showed everyone around. Tails started flying. People making up stuff, didn't know what it was. Some people saying she was crazy, that it was just a horse. There were no horses in that field or anywhere near that location. Fast forward about 20 years, she decides when she's up in her 30s that she is going to have this tested. She asked her mom for the bag. Her mom still had the bag with the hair in it. She has it sent in to TWRA, if I'm not mistaken, and they got a testing result back. It came back as an unknown species with a small percentage of ape and coyote.
Are you afraid of the dark? I hope not. We're going to talk about the haunted tunnel, the local legend that over time has turned into hundreds, if not thousands, of people recounting their own experiences with the tunnel, swearing what they experienced really happened to them. Everyone in Churchill, Tennessee knows about the Sensabaugh Tunnel. Churchill, Tennessee sits in Hawkins County, Tennessee, which is just below the Virginia border. No matter who you ask about Sensabaugh Tunnel in Churchill, everyone agrees it's pure evil. Many people say the tunnel is cursed. Others say the tunnel is haunted by its original owner. Sensabaugh Tunnel was constructed in the 1920s and was named after the man who owned the land it sat on, Mr. Edward Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh Tunnel houses Sensabaugh Hollow, and nobody takes this road by choice. Local legend says if you park your car in the middle of the tunnel and turn it off, the engine will not restart. After a few moments, you'll notice an apparition of Mr. Sensabaugh in your rearview mirror walking towards you. At that point, your engine will turn again, just in time for you to get away. You may be wondering, why does a seemingly harmless tunnel have such a bad reputation? Now, there are 3 different versions of what happened in this tunnel, but I'm going to tell you about the most popular one. Local legend has it that Mr. Sensabaugh went crazy one evening and unalived his entire family, which included his wife, multiple children, and a newborn baby. After he did the deed, he supposedly hid their bodies down in the tunnel, in the little river that ran through it. Many folks report the sound of a baby crying in the tunnel, as well as noticing childlike handprints on the sides of their car after they've driven through the tunnel. Other folks report the sounds of a woman wailing. Many have reported seeing apparitions as well as strange lights in the tunnel. Sensabaugh Tunnel is considered to be one of the most haunted tunnels in the entire world, with many swearing that they will never go back. Whatever version of this story you believe is up to you, but one thing seems to be pretty in common with the locals. Nobody goes here by choice, and especially not after dark. So what do you say? Brave enough for a road trip?
I grew up in Georgia, below the foothills of the Appalachian Mountain. Our land was somewhere around the Indian territories. How do I know that? create Indian burial grounds in our property in the woods that the state hadn't even claimed yet, and we could find arrowheads 24/7, so we kind of knew where we were. But there were things around there as a kid that I thought was just normal because, it happened every day. So I didn't think nothing about it. And where I grew up was out in the sticks, like way out in the sticks. So if you want to see your neighbor, you had to go for a little walk. It might take a little time. And then before then, there's old people who live there, so them not the friends you're looking for. One of my best friends, I'm not going to say his name, but he was probably like, I don't know, a mile or two down the street. But I wouldn't call it a street. It's a road. It used to be a dirt road, and then it got paved one day. That's how far and long ago this was, and how far in the country it was a dirt road. Anyway, it was paved at this point. But me and my brother would go down there, play with him, and the rules were to come back before nightfall. When you live out in the country, there are no street lights. So your walk home is in the dead of dark or just by moonlight. Now remember, this is in the 90s. So I was in second grade, and I was that far away from home because it was normal back then. People weren't getting kidnapped or people happening to them. People actually went outside and played. Anyway, I'm at my friend's house. We're down there, how far away he is, and there's a big hill you have to walk up to get to his house, right? I'm sorry, the big hill you have to walk up to go back home after leaving his house. So he lived at the bottom of this hill, and this hill was like, we used to skateboard down it. We used to do all kinds of wild stuff, ride bikes, no brakes, everything was fun. Anyway, one day we're playing hard, and I'm in second grade. My brother's probably in fourth or fifth. Somewhere up in there. And we're down there playing. And we go inside and play video games inside or play race cars and stuff. Anyhow, before we know it, it's dark outside. We look out the window, and there's no sunlight, and it's dark. My brother and I immediately panic, oh, crap, we got to walk home. So, and he's older than me, he's faster than me, and we're walking up the hill. And to the left is where the woods are. There's nothing back there. You can go in that sucker for like 2 or 3 miles of nothing, right? Maybe probably 5, 10 miles of nothing. We play there during the daytime, but not at night. And the moonlight is guiding the road, and there's darkness amongst the trees because of the canopy. And we're walking, and we're quiet because, we live out in the country. You hear everything. So we're walking, it's dark, and we look to the left. Well, from the left, we can hear up on the hill, on the ridge that looks down onto the road, we can hear things walking through the leaves. Mind you, it could be any animals. We're just like, as long as it doesn't do anything crazy, we're going to keep walking. So we're walking. And then we start to hear it with bigger steps and heavier steps. Like, choo, 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 choo. And that's walking technically beside us at the same pace we're at. So we're like, stop. And then we hear it take 2 more steps and it'll stop. And we'll walk more. And he's looking at me like, I hope you're ready to run. Right when you top this hill, the road flattens out, the woods end, and there's a path that comes down from the woods into the road. We ride our bikes during the day. And so we know this path, and we hear this thing walking beside. And we look up there, we can see something moving in the shadows, because it's so dark, you can't really identify what it is. And, at this point, this is a normal thing, like I said. But I'm scared normally, but this is my normal scare because I'm a kid. I'm walking, and this, and my brother started walking a little faster. I'm like, oh, crap. Now we got like at least a half a mile back home. He's faster than me. Once we top this hill, it's going to be something like a quarter mile back home. If he takes off running, I'm going to get left, right? That's what I'm thinking. He's my big brother, but he's not going to stay for me. He's going to go home and tell dad. Anyway, so we're walking. Next thing you know, things still going. And he starts getting up further, and I'm trying to keep up. My little legs are trying to keep up. And he just coming in right where the path is going to meet the woods going to meet the road into the path. My brother doesn't even look back. He just takes off. And then I hear the footsteps faster. And so I take off. And I'm listening. I'm running fast as I can. I'm not slow, but I'm running fast as I can. Next thing I hear and then I don't hear the crunching sound. I hear the dirt crunch, dirt, then pavement. I am terrified. I'm too afraid to look back because it was going so fast. My dogs, by the time I get up to my yard, we had a fence and we had dogs. The dogs are at the fence, barking like crazy in my direction. My brother flies past the fence because you had to go up to the driveway to come down there. I'm like, I'm not going to make it all the way past the fence to go to the driveway. I'm at the clear fence. My dogs are going nuts. I mean, backs bowed, barking. I'm little. And there's a fire hydrant right outside of our fence. And I'm like, I can't climb it fast enough if this creature is close to me, but I'm going to get over it. And my dogs are going nuts and running. And I put one foot on the fire hydrant, and I jumped, cleared the fence. It wasn't a huge fence, only like maybe 4 or 5 feet tall. Step on the fire hydrant, jump, and I cleared the fence, and I rolled on the ground. My dogs didn't come lick on me like they normally do or jump on me. They were facing the fence, still going crazy. Now it's done. I look back up real quick to see if I can see the creature, see if I got like dodge it or something. And across the street, we had a row of magnolia trees. And you see something just disappear into the brush to the magnolias. And I was like, holy shit. I immediately ran in the house and told my dad. And he just told me, I told you not to be out past dark. You're going to learn because you're going to keep having that same incident. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't like surprised. He just kind of like knew. And we left it at that, but it was normal.
I live in the Appalachian Mountains, and I didn't know I lived in the Appalachian Mountains until like not yesterday, the day before. And not at night, driving through at night. And I was like, oh, fun time to find out. So weird things have happened here, and I've just brushed off because I was like, it's not like I live in the Appalachian Mountains. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm safe. I'm wrong. So this happened in like 2017. I was minding my own business, and it's like 3 a.m. I remember it was 3 a.m. Like 3:30 in the morning, actually. And I'm walking from my front door to my garage, which is approximately, I'm outside right now and I'm looking, it's approximately 20 feet, 30 feet. And I make it to the lamppost, which is like 1/4 the way there. And I hear like this rustling sound, and I'm like, it must be a deer. And I hear it, and it's thudding louder, and it's coming towards me. And I'm like, I don't want to get charged by a deer, because I know someone who got charged by a deer. And I was like, you can still get gored by a deer. So I was like, let me just run. So I ran my inside, slammed the door, turned the light off, because I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I'm going to turn the light off. It was like an instinctual part of me was like, turn the light off. So I did. And I hear scrabbling, like something heavy, something huge slid off the porch, like slid onto the porch, couldn't keep its balance, and slid off the porch again. And then I hear scratching on the door. We have a glass door, so it's scratching. It is ingrained in my memory because it was such a terrifying sound. And then I hear scratching on the wooden door, because we have a storm door and then we have a wooden door. And I was like, did the storm door blow open? Did the force of this thing like hitting against it blow it open? So I panic. I run upstairs and I turn my lights on because I forgot I didn't have curtains on my windows. So it's just a look straight down. And so I have the lights on, and then all of a sudden I hear the scratching downstairs stop. And I hear, we have a chimney on the side of the house because the side where my room is it is right next to the front door. And so there's a chimney, and right in between that chimney is my two right in the middle of my two windows, and there's the chimney's in the middle. I haven't explained this so well. And I hear scratching on the stone of the chimney. And it's like it sounds like loud, like deep scratches. And I turn off my lights and like I try and look down, see if I can see something outside. I was like, what is this? I was like, it must be a bobcat or something, because we have bobcats near us. So I was like, it must be a bobcat. I look down and I see nothing. I'm still hearing the scratching. I see nothing. There is nothing there. And so I just backed away, and I just stayed in the hallway for like 2 hours, because I was like, there was no windows in the hallway. I just 2 hours until I stopped hearing the scratching. And then I went to my room and I went to bed. And I was like, it's fine. It's nothing. It was probably a bobcat, and I couldn't see it properly in the night. Come the next morning, I'm like, I want to see these scratches, because like, that's loud, like there's nothing. There's nothing on the glass door. There's nothing on, there's nothing on the storm door. There's nothing on the front door. I look on the stone chimney. There's nothing on the stone chimney. There are no scratches. Nothing.
A woman in Hamilton County, Tennessee sent me 2 trail cam photos and a video taken on her mother's property. She said her mother is an elderly woman, and over the summer she had a small garden. She said something had kept getting into her garden and eating the tomatoes. So they set up a trail cam where they captured this in the trail cam. Once standing behind the tree, and again slinking over to another tree. She said these were the only 2 pictures captured of it on the trail cam. But they had also set up security cameras in the woman's front yard. Here's a close-up of it walking out next to the woman's garden. It looks oddly similar to the creature that was captured in North Carolina. But then here's the video of it in the front yard. You can see it between these 2 trees right here, just walking into the woods. I zoomed in and tried to brighten it some here, and you can clearly see its silhouette. It looks to be the same thing that was in the garden in the back, and there it is walking into the wood. Now, Hamilton County is a county in a valley in the Appalachian Mountains. So could this be a wendigo or some type of crawler like in North Carolina? Or what is this thing?
Let's come out and say it. My whole life, I have seen shadow people. Shadow people being those weird shadows that you see standing and staring at you sometimes while you're sleeping or in the hallway. The spookiest paranormal experience is actually a clown swing that used to swing viciously like this back and forth. In the dead of the night, 2 a.m. in the morning by itself, I turned around and I said, nope. Still live in a very old house that was over 100 years old, and all the time there were incidences of shadow people in that house. My friends and family reported seeing yellow glowing and red glowing eyes in that house, which according to the internet says that it could be a demon or the devil. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but recently I moved into a new house. The house had good energy and everything was going great. Until recently when I went downstairs to do my laundry in the basement. Now the first time it happened, I saw it out of the corner of my eye, running from point A to point B. I swear to God, it was like a small animal, maybe a cat or a small dog. I looked around the basement, looked everywhere for it, and the weirdest part is I think it was stalking me. Once I turned to look at it from my peripheral, it immediately ran and disappeared. I didn't think much of it at the time until, of course, the second time it happened. And I kid you not, I was on the phone with my husband, and I see it in my peripheral, and this thing is a lot bigger than a small cat or a dog. It is like the size of my Rottweiler, my full-grown Rottweiler. And I turn to look at it, and I see it. My eyes actually follow it. And that thing runs so fast. And I said, what the? There's like a large sewer rat down here, babe. What is going on? And I looked for it. And again, I couldn't find anything. And my husband says, no, babe, you're just imagining it. So I write it off again until my sister-in-law comes and stays with us. And where does she stay? In the guest bedroom downstairs in the basement, because it's like a second floor. She sees it, except she doesn't see an animal. She sees an inhuman figure. The moment she looked at it head on, it ran. But she said it was like a figure, an inhuman figure with hands like this. The moment you look at it, it runs away. Now, what do? Immediately, I run to the internet and say, okay, what is going on? I look up shadow people, and I can't find anything about crouched, shadowy figures, right? Because, I don't know, I'm curious. And I don't see anything. This thing I've come to is a crawler. And that it likes to stalk people. And I'm not sure if it's the same as a watcher, but then I got to thinking, what if it is something else posing as a crawler or a shadow person? This is a new house. Sometimes demons will let out an open, welcoming aura to trick and trap people. So I was just like, at this point, I reach out to a medium. And that's where I am right now. There is no way that I'm going to try and contact this thing. I just want it gone and out of my life. I have dealt with enough of the paranormal in the past to know that engaging is not a good idea.
There is a chance that the stories that us Appalachian people tell you about the spooky stuff that goes on in our woods, the Mothman, the cryptids, the not deer, the feral people, that we're all just making it up so that you Californians don't pack up your whole family and move here and turn a single-story ranch home into $1 million investment and ruin what's left of our natural beauty. We could just be telling stories. But maybe we're not. And here's the thing, we're not going to tell them. So, you want to take the risk? I don't think you do.
If you've ever felt watched or seen something just beyond the light, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. As always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.